Hello, everybody. I'm here, Melanie Harwood, to welcome you all to our Sustainable Schools Virtual Summit. And we are kicking off our very first talk with the one and only, incredible, awesome Lisa Pugh. You are going to love what she has got to say. And what is coming next is going to knock your socks off. Right, Lisa, tell me why we are doing this talk with you and you are in a forest. I want to know why you are up on the hill in a forest.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity, Denise. It's been very serendipitous, I must say. And this is my home. I live here. I am very fortunate. I run a small charity called the Deerwood Trust. We live here in 2 years and we run conservation, education-based activities here in the woodlands. So my whole life is basically being eco-friendly. I live it. And it's healed me. I was very ill a few years ago, and I had what would be called a normal life in a house. I was, in school teaching. I got ill, and then my whole life fell apart. And I basically met Mark, who's my partner now, and everything was rebuilt from the ground up. It took a long time, but we had a vision, we had a dream. And loads of people said we couldn't do it. I think you've heard this yourself. You can't do that. That's not right. That's not possible. And we just said, this is our vision. This is our dream. And ultimately, we want to help people. We want to plant trees because we grow our own trees here. We've got our own tree nursery. And we've done everything ourselves from scratch with very little money. And we achieved our planning consent in January, which is quite a big deal for this part of the country. We're in the South Hams in Devon. And people are going, wow, how did you do that? So yeah, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I do feel it gives me a lot more credibility to talk about what I want to convey. And people kind of go, whoa, well, you're already doing it, So here I am.
Lisa, you worked as a teacher, and now how many days a week do you work in a school?
It's very ad hoc. I've chosen just to do supply work at my local school because it gives me the freedom to say, well, I've got this, that and the other going on in the wood, or I've got stuff I've got to be doing. And they're very good about it. So it could be just 1 day a week, or it could be a full week, depending on the time of year. I mean, I make myself as available as possible, but they're very understanding when I say, well, I'm not available on those days. So it's a good symbiotic relationship in that respect. And I've been there for the last 5 years doing that and built up some very good relationships with the staff and the pupils. So it's meant that I've had a little bit more leeway to kind of start doing the ideas that I had.
So I wanted to ask you, when did you feel, or when did you start delivering what I would call climate literacy? Because you've been building a program that we're going to be introducing and talking to on this, as part of this virtual summit today. When was that defining moment for you that you felt you needed to create an outreach program?
I guess because there's been a lot of anxiety in school. So many children are having problems, and it's causing a lot of behavior issues. And people are saying, oh, it's down to this, that and the other. And I'm thinking, well, actually it's bigger picture stuff because it's affecting all of us. So I just got into conversation with children and teachers, and just to find out how they were feeling about things. And it was really clear that everyone was very unsure about stuff. They were getting information coming in from different sources, and it was conflicting, it was confusing them. And yes, they've got really excellent teachers at school, and they're teaching them the core stuff, and they talk about adaptation and mitigation within the lessons, brilliant, but they don't tell you how you can go out and empower yourself to make a difference. They don't teach you that. And this is what the kids want. This is what I gleaned from having to talking to people. So it was a really, again, I talk about serendipity, this lovely sequence of events. I live near Totnes, and we have a very forward-thinking, it's a transition town, and we have a very forward-thinking mayor, Jackie Hodson, big up to Jackie. And she was of this same mind, and she wanted to just go, not enough is being done. The council is saying they're going to do this, that and the other. They talk a big talk, but there's no action, there's no follow through. So she was a bit fed up with that. So she just called, like yourself, called like a summit. And she had a week long of things that she was hosting, where she invited people to come in and talk and brainstorm ideas. And one of them was about tree planting. So obviously me and Mark went to that. And then there was another one about education, and another one that our lovely friend Ben King was hosting, to do with your training and how to get on it. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's exactly what I need. Because if I can get a certificate in this, maybe I'll be taken a bit more seriously. Because, you know, my background, I'm a DT teacher. So I teach food and textiles as my subject, but I'm also an art teacher. Those are my specialisms. But obviously at school, when you're a supply teacher, you get to go everywhere. So I've been lucky in that I've had loads of time in the geography department picking people's brains. I'm just going around asking questions that, you know, they think I'm very annoying, but that's fine. You know, it gets you somewhere, doesn't it? So basically I was very fired up by that. I did the training, that was back in November 2019. I did the training over the Christmas break. So I completed the 5 modules within, I think, 3 weeks. Went back to school, went, right, okay. Had a meeting with the head, which I was terrified. I've never done that before in my 20 years as a teacher. Taking a proposal to the head, because I just felt it was so important. It was so urgent. I wrote it all down, and I said to her, I'm going to read it from this. She said, do you need to? I said, yes, I'm really nervous. So I read out what my ideas were, and this had come from a focus group that I'd run. So I'd basically gone around holding up placards around school, you know, Greta Thunberg style, going, how are you feeling about climate change? Do you want to be part of the solution? I was just popping my head around doorways going, come to the focus group, you know, just being loud. I would say about 40 pupils come during the lunch break, and myself and another climate change teacher, Jess Briggs, big up to Jess. She helped me out. She's a geography teacher, so she really knows what she's talking about. And we had a load of questions written on bits of paper around the room, and we just did 2 minutes on each bit. So they all had a go, and then we consolidated it and looked at what was it that they wanted, what was it that was going to help them the most. And from that list I then formulated these ideas and went to the head with it, and she said, oh, these are Rolls Royce, these are great, can't do it at the moment. I'm like, oh God, I really want to do it right now, you know, it's so urgent. And so she said, look, perhaps we can start you off and just drip feed it in so that they get used to the idea. So it's not all kind of bam in your face and everyone's going, oh my God, I can't take it. So she said, start doing some display work and form a steering group. And then we can possibly introduce this into tutor time in September. So that's what I started doing. And I asked some of the pupils who'd been part of the focus group, who were so passionate. I mean, they were like, thank you for doing this. We've been waiting for someone to pick up that baton. I mean, it was so wanted. So I was like, oh God, brilliant. And they were a real range of pupils as well. I mean, some that I wouldn't have thought would have been interested, and they were there going, I really get this and I'm really behind you. So it was fantastic. So that gave me a big boost. So we had weekly meetings and we brainstormed ideas, and from those, and I mean, they had so many ideas, it was brilliant, but we had to kind of focus them down into what was going to be the most effective thing to help people, because people were feeling helpless. So the word that came up was empowerment. That was the key word out of it. People need to be empowered to take it into their own hands, because they're just feeling like, you know, the government's not doing anything, or how do we get the government to do things? I don't know. What do we do? You know, big industry is trashing everything. Well, they're just doing that and we're just one little person. How can we make a difference? And that was the key. That was the you know, the tagline for us was, every single thing you do makes a difference. It can be just one small thing like getting a bamboo toothbrush instead of your plastic one. That still makes a difference, and not to feel disempowered by that. So it was then building on that. So I did a lot of research, and I looked at what were the top 10 things that you could do to reduce your carbon footprint. Because, you know, if we can all do that, then it comes down, and hopefully we can kind of mitigate the worst of the predictions for climate change. So that's how the Carbon Footprint Buster Challenge was born, from my beautiful steering group, and lots of testing out of ideas at school. So we got to the stage of being really well backed by heads of year, and they said, you've got to go big with this, go big. I mean, like with you, Melanie, go big, sky's the limit, you know?
Absolutely. If you can't go big, go home. You've got to think absolutely outside the box. You know, when people say to me, how many schools do you want to be in? I just say all of them. Every school. I'm going to be in every classroom, every teacher, every school throughout the world. That's it. That's where we're going to be, because we will. If we say we will, we will.
I mean, I'm just blown away by your vision. It's brilliant. You know, it's girl power. Really.
But you know what's really interesting is that you are one of the very first of, when we came up with the concept of a climate change teacher, that was not what we came up with. We presented to the UN the cross-curricular climate curriculum, and they told us it cannot be done. And then I said, I know from my background, I created a handwriting scheme called Start Be Handwriting, and it's a totally off-the-wall handwriting scheme because the teacher is a child. I filmed my daughter from the age of 4. She's filmed about 800 lessons. So she teaches children from the age of 4 right up to 12, 13 years old how to write in, you know, English. She hates me. She'll be writing a book called Mommy Dearest, but anyway. But I knew from that experience, when I created that handwriting scheme, you had to empower teachers. You had to turn those teachers that were delivering your method into handwriting specialist teachers. And I said that to the UN. I don't just want, you know, these are M&S, you know that advert, but these are M&S cherries. I said, I want the creme de la creme. These are going to be my Educate global teachers, are going to be the leaders in teaching climate literacy throughout the world. They will be the creme de la creme. And when they said, oh, it can't be done. And I said, it will be. And our remit was to trial the idea in, just hang on a minute, my husband wants to walk through. Go for it, that's it. Sorry, he normally crawls behind me. He doesn't want to be on screen. What we did was we were supposed to trial it in 80 UK schools. I knew when we launched this at COP24 in Katowice in Poland, Angus Mackay from the UN said, oh, United Kingdom. He was so worried about me saying, this is going to be global, this is going to go around the world. When that thing launched, nothing happened. Nobody came, nobody wanted it. You know what I did, Lisa? I learned how to use Twitter DMs. I direct messaged every teacher on the planet that I possibly could. And I said, if you don't do this course, I'm going to have to go and lie on train tracks. I had teachers saying, can you please stop harassing me? And they did it. But what happened was once they did the course, the beginning, because it's not, the course doesn't look like that anymore. Once they did that first iteration of it, and once they started sharing their certificates, I knew we were quids in. I knew we were going to go. That course, we had 329,000 teachers in more than 40 countries. But I'm going to be absolutely vilified on social media for saying this. I'd say 99% were not like you. I'd say 99% of them were what I would call badge and certificate collectors. And all they wanted was the certificate for their CV, and they never came back. And that was the most heartbreaking thing for me. And I failed. I just thought, I failed. I'm not going to be able to deliver the cross-curricular climate curriculum. But it was something that happened, and I woke up one day and I thought, right, there was a catalyst. I'm not going to say what it was. And I went back to the UN and I said, right, safeguarding of children is paramount. And we are going to change this mechanism because there are teachers telling us that they don't have the support from their head teacher. And we had this 1% like you that were so focused, so driven. And I thought to myself, right, I need that 1%. The 1% are going to give me the 100%. And I knew that I had to reorganize our method of delivery. And that's why now we have the Educate Global. It's a triangle with the head teacher at the very top of that hierarchy. And the head teacher nominates the sustainability and climate change lead teacher. And then they nominate 5 support team members. And by having that support team structure to begin with, that is where we hit the ground running, and we have magic. Because once that team gets started, they then draw on programs like yours that we are going to be integrating into Educate Global. Because I didn't just sit still, you didn't. You did the course, you did the first iteration of the course, and you went and you built something. And you trialed it, and you didn't give up. And then you came back to me and you said, right, well, this is what I've done. And I went back to you and said, you've made my day. Because I have been looking for the right initiative to deliver from the very get-go. Because once those teachers are trained, once they have the background knowledge, the basics, lesson plans do not cut the mustard. Like you said to me, lessons on adaptation and mitigation, they are good, but they do not deliver that tangible action we need. And this is where programs like yours become an initiative that team have got to sign up. The head teacher of our Educate Global Award schools, they've got to sign up and agree that they will deliver that program, that they will deliver it. So for me, it's about tangible action, and it's about giving our sustainability and climate change leadership teams in every one of our schools the toolkit to hit that ground running. And what you've created is a dream. I mean, you've built something that is so unique, so superb, so powerful, that I could not sleep for about 4 days after going through your presentation, your proposal to me. I just thought, thank you, universe. I have been asking you to send me the right program, because I get lots, Lisa. I get sent, I spend most of my day on Zoom with people contacting me saying, I've got this idea, I've got this program, but I haven't tried it. And I say to them, are you a teacher? Doesn't matter if you are or you aren't. Have you tried it? Does it work? Have you got evidence? You know? But and then you look at it and you just think, oh, it's going to be difficult to build. That's going to, you know, that's really going to bust the bank. But you've built something so amazing that I think that when schools start, all of our Educate Global schools, it's going to be mandatory that it's part of the Bronze Awards, that when they sign up, they have to agree. They cannot get their certificate unless they deliver this in the steps that you have created for them. Because it is so magical. As you blew my head, you blew my mind, Lisa. I tell you what, it was so good. And when Dr. Ben King said to me, you know, Dr. Ben King is he was one of the very first climate change teachers. Do you know that? Do you know, when nobody else would do my course, Dr. Ben King and Dr. Merrill Batchelder and a head teacher called Rebecca Stacey, I can never forget it. Lisa, I was standing in the pharmacy and Rebecca Stacey was one of those teachers that I was harassing on Twitter, direct messages. And she said to me, if you do not leave me alone, I'm going to report you to the police.
A restraining order.
I said to her, please, Rebecca, please just do one of those courses. Do you know, at 6 p.m. in the evening, I was standing there and she started messaging me her certificates. And I just started crying. And I knew it was this turning point. It was like a tsunami wave was coming in. And I thought, and I messaged her back and I said, Rebecca, will you please share these on Twitter? And she did all 5 courses in one day. She locked her door that morning and she stayed in her office and she worked from like 5 in the morning until 6:30, and she worked her way through and she passed I think she got through the bulk of them, and she said, I think she had one more to do, but she got the lot.
Wow.
And then she said, well, what do I get now? I said, well, you are now an Educate Global climate change teacher. I will give you that full certification. And I knew that once she shared those certificates, bang. And she was my first head teacher. And I cannot thank her. And then Dr. Ben King, my goodness, he was on the phone. He phoned me. Nobody phoned me. Dr. Ben King phoned me and he was like, I'm loving this. And I just said, please, please, Ben, I need you to, you know, how did I know that Dr. Ben King is a Twitter fiend? I mean, he runs Twitter. He knows Twitter. Like, he's like a Twitter guru. I mean, I'm not that technical, fangled, but he started tweeting. And that was, and Dr. Merrill Batchelder, same thing, Northumberland. Once it was just 3, it was a catalyst of these individuals that just were so passionate like us. And it's just gone. I mean, that course, 329,000 teachers in more than 40 countries. Okay, so 99% of them took the certificate and didn't come back. But it means that they all did the course.
Oh, we'll get them back in, don't you worry.
Lisa, do you feel that there is a movement happening, that there's a change now that we've had this COVID-19 lockdown? There's a reset that's now in process. There's a recovery curriculum cooking, and I'm busy doing the climate reality core leadership training. It's pretty tough. It's really intensive. I don't, you know, I've got a family and I'm just not seeing them for days on end because I'm trying to get through all of this training, and I know my stuff and I'm learning, and I'm so frightened of what they're presenting to me. They're showing me stuff that is so scary that I'm lying awake thinking, I must do something, I must do something, I am doing something, I will do something. Do you think that we've reached a tipping point in education, and that the only way forward is for every school to become a sustainable school in every aspect, in every single thing that they do?
It has to be. It really has to be, because the system's broken. It has been for a long time. And just cramming facts and figures into children's heads and making them into kind of, it makes their heads explode, and they're not happy. They don't seem to have a life because I've got too much homework to do, I've got too much of this, or they just switch off. And I see it so much, and it breaks my heart, because I mean, I started teaching back in 20 years ago, and it was very different back then. I had so much more free reign. I was able to build up the stuff I was doing with food technology. I was a vegetarian. I didn't demonstrate once how to do fish or meat or any of that. I just talked about it. I had the best results the school had ever seen in that subject. So, and more kids. We opened 3 food rooms, 3, because of it, because of the uptake, because I was passionate. Now, I never, ever rammed anything down people's throats. I was just passionate about what I was doing, and I was authentic about it. Now, I can't take all the credit. I can't. My wonderful steering group and the kids at KCC, they were my inspiration. And all I did was just funnel that into something that was more cohesive, and then put it back to them, and they said, yeah, like that, don't think they'd get that, can you kind of word it a different way or approach it a different way? And I listened to all of that, because, you know, like yourself, we're incredibly passionate. We just want to get it out there and like, listen, everybody, what are you doing? And it was like, no, because people take offense. People take offense. I talk to other teachers and they go, oh no, I could never give up meat. Or no, it's really difficult for me not to use my car loads, and I couldn't not go on holiday. What are you talking about? You know? And I'm thinking, this is a big, I can see why Mel is like tearing her hair out, because it's just hardwired into people, and things are going to break. I mean, they're breaking already. And as you say, this tipping point, the COVID has given people a chance to kind of go, right, we don't actually need to do all these things. We might want to do some of these things, but we don't actually need to. So what's in the best interest of the earth and everyone else, you know? And if we can all think, if we can all kind of make that switch to our lifestyles, then, well, there's going to be a huge difference. But it needs to be
a difference, Lisa. I mean, it's just, you know, we just, when all the cars stopped.
Oh, what a silence.
It was the silence, the peace, the calm, and a lot of, you know, my husband was like, always, oh, I've got no time. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And all of a sudden, everything, his phone went, and I said, there you go. All the work is gone. Everything you had to do is gone. And he said, how am I going to pay the mortgage? And I said to him, it doesn't matter. We have an amazing, we have a Granny Lily. She's an adopted granny, and she's an old sage, a very wise old sage. And she always says, don't worry about cleaning the house will clean itself. You know? and I always say to my husband, don't worry about cleaning the house. And he says, I know, I'm cleaning it. So I think that we were so hung up in this daily grind and chase. COVID-19, the lockdown has forced us to stop. Now, one of my questions as part of my group that I'm with, I'm in an accountability group with the Climate Reality Project. And we asked a question, what is going to be our stay-at-home moment for climate change? What is the message going to be for all of us to stop and reset. What is that? Because, you know, we had that blasting in front of us. The government said to us, stay at home, stay at home, stay at home. What is that stay at home message going to be? Do you think it is going to be the collective energy of every school throughout the world working on projects like yours, initiatives, delivering those initiatives, and that is going to be that mind realignment, as I call it, because it's going to, I tell you what, folks, if you are listening to this or watching this now, when you see how this works, it is going to blow you away. It is going to blow you all away, because you're going to say, why have we not been doing this already? But you've got to deliver it in such a way that it is delivered by a team, because it's the starting point. You've got to have that hierarchy. You've got to have that sustainability and climate change lead teacher that's certified and trained. You've got to have that support team, because that's one person, one head teacher, one leader. That support team is there to hold that team up. It can't be one individual in a school. You cannot have just one Dr. Ben King in a school, just one Dr. Merrill Batchelder that is an Educate Global Climate Change teacher. It doesn't work. They have got to have a support structure to drive it through. And we've been trialing it, and we know now we have head teachers that have signed up during lockdown, Lisa, and incredible stuff has been going on. We've been building content. The schools have been coming back to us, those very forward-thinking head teachers, and I'm going to have all of them on this Sustainable Schools Virtual Summit. I'm going to bring every one of them on here so that you can listen to their stories and be motivated, and you are going to be so switched on when you listen to their leadership and their ideas and why they've been doing things in a particular way. We've had one school in Dubai. This is going to do you in. This is amazing. One head teacher contacted me and said, I want my school to do the Bronze Award. And I said, okay, no problem. 5,000 pupils in one school. And she said, right, I've got 320 something teachers. I said, okay, well, we need one. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have, you can't just do one Bronze Award. You're going to have to do a Bronze Award for your main team. And then you're going to have to, each year group, you're going to choose another sustainability team, because there's too many of you. One team will burn out. And I was amazed that she was prepared to put that investment in, because we're a not-for-profit organization. That £300 covers the administration, the verification that they've done the certificates, the access to the portals and everything else. She did it. She's got her one main sustainability and climate change leadership team, and she has 5 underneath them. And I thought, they're never going to do this, not during lockdown. What did they do? 2 weeks later, they came back and they said, we're ready now. We've done the Bronze Award. What happens now? And I said, well, you now need to remap your curriculum. And they came back and they said, how do we do that? So I was very naughty. I sent them Dr. Ben King's photograph. I sent them the photograph. I said, this is what Dr. Ben King did in Totnes in Devon. He put a whiteboard up, and you are going to map your curriculum in the same way that Dr. Ben King has done. And then they came back and they said, how do you feel about us doing an initiative? And they told me the initiative, and I said, well, I think that's great, but you've got 126 classrooms. Can you do an initiative in every single classroom, a different one? And I gave them a list of ideas. Now, I didn't have your initiative. I didn't have your program, because if I'd have met you before that, I would have been able to say to them, right, here's the carbon buster. You're going to go and do this initiative, this project now, and you're going to do your assembly, and each one of your groups is going to tackle one of these projects here. And then you're going to swap in a month, and then you're going to swap, so that every one of you is going to do one of these 12 carbon buster programs as Lisa has created for you. If I'd have known what you had then, if I'd have had you in my pocket, I mean, that would have just been incredible. But they went away and they worked through the bronze award. They've achieved the silver award. Every single teacher in that school, all 326 of them, have done at least 2 of those Educate Global courses. Now they want to achieve the gold award. But what I'm going to do with gold is I'm going to take them back to the beginning, and they are going to deliver your Carbon Buster program as part of their gold, because they've missed out that first point. I feel that your Carbon Buster is the first point, the first initiative that every school should start with before they move on. The other interesting thing is we've got a head teacher in Fulham. She's an executive head, Lisa, and she has 2 schools, Fulham Girls and Fulham Academy. Her name is Sally Brooks, and I will do a talk with her. Both of her, she's got 2 sustainability and climate change leadership teams in each of those schools. Each one has gone through bronze. They are now working through the silver award. So we're going to get the Carbon Buster right in each of those schools straight away. But what they've done that's been very, very interesting, they've started developing a whole STEM program for schools with me. They're developing a training program for teachers. And the other thing they're doing is they are trialing a new method of children doing the very same courses that the teachers have done. So where this is going to be going is going to prepare these children for what we need. We need leaders, but we need leaders that do, because your program is all about doing. Is about actually understanding, because there's no point in throwing me loads and loads of content without me understanding what to do and why. Can you tell me, when you first delivered your first assembly for this, the one that you told me about the other day, what was the process and how did it work?
Well, the head of year 7, when he saw the program, he said, you need to go big with this. You need to make an impact with it so that it's in the hearts and minds of everybody. So we need to hit every single year group in every assembly this week. So I was like, okay, never done an assembly in my life, but you know, I'm game for it. So it gave me about a month of preparation, and I was thinking, well, what things have caught my attention when I've been out and about and have made me stop and listen? And I have to say, I was very inspired by the flash mob singing and drumming and stuff like that, because everyone stops and goes, oh, how wonderful, and join in and stuff, and it's brilliant. So we did, some members in my group are quite musical, so I said, well, let's do some drumming. We'll keep it quite simple. The music department were very, very helpful, and they let us practice over lunch breaks and stuff. And we came up with a very simple beat, and we all had, some of them had proper instruments, but we also had what I call recycled instruments. So, you know, I had a piece of bamboo and a pipe, you know, and that was my instrument. And then I gathered together a load of recycled bits and bobs, which were just like, you know, plastic trays and sticks and stuff. So the theme of everything was nothing was new. We didn't go and buy anything. We didn't spend any money on this. You know, we've got no budget for it anyway. And the idea was for me to introduce the assembly and have these images for them to respond to at the beginning. So I asked the question, how does climate change make you feel? Because all of this is about how it's, you know, how do you feel? And then I put the images up. So does it make you, I'm not going to give it away because obviously I want people to see it. And then when I got to the slide and I said, does it make you feel? And I just went, motivated, like this. And I held up my instrument. I started banging it. And that was the cue for my guys, my steering group, to come in one at a time, tuck, 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 all in the same beat, tuck, tuck, and then we stopped. And then we did another beat. And then the lead person, Marianne, she would blow a whistle, and it was a cue, because we'd set this up. It was a cue for the teachers then, because they'd been kind of given instruments and stuff, for them to stand up. So it was like, tuck, 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 and you could see, and the kids were going, where are the teachers joining? They were doing this. And then we had stooges in the audience. So we had them come in and be in different places, and then they would stand up with their instruments and start to, and this was like freaking everyone out. Everyone was going, what's going on? And we carried that on, and the vibe was so good. I was like, when are we going to stop this? This is going on for a bit longer, but hey, I'm going with it. And then it was like like that. And then we, took a bow. Thank you very much, my group. They went back out. And then I carried on with the presentation, introducing the Carbon Footprint Buster Challenge as a way of showing them that when you can start like yourself with one person, and then that little drop goes into the ocean, but it can spread. So it might be a huge ocean, but that ripple can start spreading. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening for you. And that's what I hope will happen with the Carbon Footprint Buster Challenge. It's a way of just empowering everyone to know these are all the lifestyle changes that you can do. And most of them are actually not too difficult at all. And we do them in stages, and we do them in a way that you're comfortable with and is adapted to each country. Because obviously, people in Africa are going to be very different to people in Britain. So it's just a way of introducing that gently. And they were really fired up. And the first one is about green energy. And I'm not going to give it all away, but the tester group that I did it on, 70% of the responses that we got were positive, that the parents were really, really happy to have received this information, because, there's so much information out there. People just get a bit swamped by it. But if you give them the right information, they can go, oh, so you just do X, Y, and Z, and then that reduces your carbon footprint. Oh, well, I can do that. That's not that difficult. Whereas at the moment, just everyone's bombarded with lots and lots of information, and you get so swamped by it that you're like, oh God, no, just let me go back to bed, you know? So,
I mean, it's just so exciting. What happened with us, something very similar, was when the teachers came back, they said, okay, we've done your courses, we've done your 5 courses. How do we teach climate change? And then we looked at it, and I went to Fiona Cowan. She's a head teacher up in Derbyshire. Very talented, very, very talented head teacher. And she said, okay, what do you want? I said, I want you to develop me a course, a training, insect training for teachers to be able to understand how and why to deliver climate change learning, what I call climate literacy. And she tweaked it, we tweaked it, and then we filmed it. We filmed her delivering it to a cluster. I'll have her on a talk speaking about it, actually. And we did that. And then they came back and they said, oh, that was great. But now what do we do? how do we, what do we use? And I was like, oh, man. And I just said, well, but you've got the e-library. And they said, no, we've got little children, really little. So I said to her, okay, we need to build a program. We need to build, so we built something called mini climate readers. We went and we found authors, children's authors who have written stories that introduce children to climate change and all of the issues, but in a very gentle, positive and calm way. And we turned those into my vision. I'm a bit of a crazy brain in that I see things in 360 degrees and visually and audially. I see color. I see colors and I see sound, I hear sound, I see in sound, which is a bit sad. So if you give me a document to read, yeah, I'll read the document, but I see it. Once I've read it, I see it visually. Because Denise says to me, Mel, when you're explaining something to me, why are you looking up in the sky and pointing at things? And then I say to her, but can't you see? He's there. She says, you don't even know what he looks like. And I go, yeah, but that's him, that's her. I see it in front of me. So when we took these stories, we turned them into audio-visual versions. And we created lesson plans. Fiona worked like a Trojan, and she created lesson plans. And we were trialing this in a cluster in Derbyshire, and then COVID-19 hit. And she was just devastated. She said, what do we do now? And I said, well, we've had this great experience, but we now have to stop. And then a couple of weeks into it, she contacted me and said, my engagement, my parental engagement has fallen off a cliff after half term. What do we do? I said, I'll tell you what, why don't we onboard the parents? let's do something really naughty. But Fiona, on condition that I do not have to deal with the parents. This is not my gig, right? You and your team, you've got this. You've already been delivering mini climate readers for the last 6-7 months. You deliver it online. I don't care how, you deliver it. Do you know, Lisa, we onboarded 104 families. I only switched it off a week ago, and they bombarded Fiona with messages saying, why has it been switched off? We had parents doing the projects with the children, and one child made her mother write out 100 times, the coral is dying. And the mother was on the Facebook group of the school saying, I didn't realize. Because the hardest part for us has been, how do you have a process of delivery? How do you keep people focused on a particular project without overwhelming them and without creating too much anxiety? You need to empower them. So Fiona built in projects for the children and the parents, and we changed the lesson plans into parent-carer instructions. And that was the very first blended learning program. And we know it has been so successful. When we launch Carbon Buster will be delivered in schools, and it's going to be delivered as a blended learning at home as well. That's the proviso. Every school that signs up, we have to have that parental community engagement, because a school doesn't just teach a child. A school teaches an entire community, you know, that's the whole, and we need to teach everybody en masse very quickly. We do not have time for those, you know, those slogans. What is it? What are those crazy slogans that they have? You know, they have always 3 points. Come on, Cummings loves 3 points. He loves get out now. his Brexit slogans. What does he love? He loves very simplistic slogans. We don't have time for big government campaigns. We need to do this as a grassroots and a community movement, and we need to do it in a supported and guided way. And that's why schools are the perfect point to launch from. Because programs like what you've created, you know, delivered by those very specialist teachers. I mean, you are the equivalent of Start Be Handwriting for me, really, because you've created, you know, Start Be Handwriting was so unique because it was delivered by a child to children. It was a child teaching children how to pick up a pencil, how to hold the pencil, how to form their letters. But it needed those specialist teachers. So that was when we created the handwriting specialist teacher training, you know, and the assessment. So you are that equivalent. What you've created is the climate literacy, the beginning of climate literacy, because it's not a lesson. No. It's an actual activity in my daily life that I start incorporating into my fabric of my being. That's what's so exciting about it. I mean, I don't even want to be sitting in this room anymore. I want to be in those trees where you are.
Well, an open invitation, Mel. Would love you to come in, and perhaps we can do some of the filming
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So
Great.
with the Carbon Buster,
Yeah.
we are going to be filming an introduction with you.
Yeah.
You are going to introduce a guidance process for teachers for our Educate Global Sustainability and Climate Change leadership teams. They are going to be learning with you how to deliver your program, and you are going to give them the toolkit with the monthly outlines, each assembly and the outlines of how to deliver that and how it's going to spread throughout the curriculum, how they can then take it and build it into their curriculum. So that's the process. Now John is going to be coming through to filming you. You've sent me the whole outline, and we should have this done very, very quickly and ready for our schools within about a month to a month and a half. And we will then be trialing it with all of the Educate Global Award schools that are already doing Educate Global. And from there, we are going to be spreading this globally. And I cannot wait. I think it's one of the most exciting developments within Educate Global's metamorphosis. Because it's almost like we're like a butterfly that we keep shedding. We keep shedding our cocoon, and then we spread our wings, and then we spread the next cocoon. And I'd say that this is metamorphosis number 4 in Educate Global's life cycle. You are getting me closer to that original dream that I had to deliver that cross-curricular climate curriculum throughout the world, in every school, in every classroom, every school, with every child, in every home. I tell you what, I'm so blessed that you came to me. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to the universe for sending you to me.
Thank you, Denise.
You're a gift, an absolute gift, because not everybody gets it and understands it. But I think because you are living that life, you've personally chosen to walk the walk and talk the talk. And you've proven to yourself and all of your audience that it is possible, and that it is a healthy way of being, and that it can be incorporated into everything you do. And that's exciting. So where to next, Lisa? Where are we going?
Oh my goodness.
When do we kick it off?
Soon. I've got to get busy. That's for
So
sure.
what we're going to do, everybody, if you are listening to this talk on the podcast, or you are watching this talk on the page, wherever you are in the world, we are going to have some documents attached below here, or in the podcast. There will be links to the program. If you want to know more about what we are doing, you can contact us at Educate Global. Now, there are 2 C's in Educate Global because it's climate change. So it's EDUCCATE Global, GLOBAL.org. Now, if anything we've mentioned to you in this talk has rung any bells or started getting those creative juices flowing, please email us at support, SUPPORT, at educateglobal.org. Remember, 2 C's, EDUCCATEGLOBAL.org. Please message us, or you can go to our website, www.educateglobal.org. Now, we would like for every school in the world to start with our Educate Global Bronze Award, because we want to ensure that we have a sustainability and climate change leadership team in every single school throughout the world, delivering the most incredible programs that you have ever encountered. Lisa Pugh's program, the Mini Climate Readers program, all of the stuff that Fiona Cowan and I and Denise Meisner and the other stuff that's coming in that is so exciting. We want to be delivering that to every school throughout the world. Now, the other thing that we're going to be including here is we're going to include some notes. Lisa's given me some recommended reading. She's got some videos for you. I'm going to include all of that below. And we would like for you to share this podcast, share this video far and wide. If you're watching this on a page, please, the social media buttons are going to be below, because the more you share this, the more we can get this out into schools throughout the world. I'm going to be going to film a new program, because I know that literacy is very key to my heart, because if children cannot write, they cannot access all of the curriculum. And I feel very strongly that literacy is hand in hand with climate literacy. So I'm going to be working on a new program to ensure that every child throughout the world learns to write well and learns to be able to access all of this content that we are going to be developing and delivering for you. So that's my next project. But Educate Global is busy going through its 4th metamorphosis. And we've developed the climate change teacher program considerably since Lisa first started doing it. We have the sustainability and climate change lead teacher training, but please note, only a head teacher can nominate one teacher in a school to be that teacher to begin with. This must come from the leadership of the school governors and the head teacher have the shout. We no longer, unfortunately, accept just any teacher. You must be nominated, and this must be that triangular process where we have the hierarchy of the head teacher, then your Educate Global Sustainability and Climate Change lead, then their support team members. And that's the beginning of your process in your school, because they need to support each other and drive through programs like Lisa's and all of the others throughout the school. It becomes the fabric of the school. We are also going to be interviewing and speaking to architects that are involved in sustainability, garden designers, to help you develop and design your sustainable gardens for your school. Anybody that is involved in finance even, we've got somebody who's going to be speaking on how to change your pension, your investments, so that you divest away from fossil fuels towards sustainable products and programs and investments, because we can make that difference and we can put pressure to have change. Do you remember years ago, everybody said we'd always still be smoking cigarettes? No, there was a groundswell from the public. We all knew that it gave us cancer and we didn't want to smoke anymore, okay? So no matter how they lobbied and had the power and the funding to keep those posters up, we have those those dark cancer messages on those packs of cigarettes. So we know that it's going to kill us. So we need to know how to get ourselves moving forward with our climate literacy and sustainability and climate change learning throughout our processes in every language, because this is a global issue. And it affects the poorest people in the world are affected the most by climate change and global heating. The inequalities that we have, those people are suffering the most. And we'll be speaking more about that as we go. I want to thank Lisa for joining me today. And this is the first talk that she's going to be delivering. I know that she's going to be back many, many times, because she's going to be feeding back on the results of the Carbon Buster program throughout every one of our Educate Global Awards schools throughout the world. I know that this is a winner, and I see programs coming in at me all day, every day. This one is it. This is the game changer for us. This program is going to be delivered in every language, in every school, in every classroom throughout the world. And you heard it here first.
I feel a bit overwhelmed, but you know that you saw my vision statement, and that was it. You know, to get this out to everybody, because it takes all of us to make this change, to make that difference, to turn it around. We all have to work together. We all live on this planet, so we all need to be part of it. So thank you.
So, namaste. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lisa Pugh, for joining me. And I'm so glad that you managed to get your Zoom to work on the top of that hill today, because trust me, I've been fretting about that. But please, anything you want to know, get in touch with us. Get your school head teacher to sign up. Everything is on our website. And the other thing we're going to be doing, Lisa, we're going to be doing a sustainability and climate change leadership training for corporations and industries. The condition is this: if you want your business leaders to do that course, you have to sponsor at least one school. That's the deal. You don't get by unless you sponsor a school, because these schools don't have any money. So we're all going to work together to make that change. From me, Melanie Harwood of Educate Global, and from my team, my partner, Denise Meisner, my husband, Jonathan Harwood, my whole little support team, Tim Collins, Carlo, Belle, Lowell, Charmaine, Dustin. I love you all, and I'm sending you all love, all of you watching this, and we are going to do this together in peace and with love. See you all on the other side. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.